Hello and welcome to a Tuts Plus Quick Tip Screencast. My name is Cheryl Graham, and this video was suggested by a Photoshop Tuts reader who wanted to know how to create this geometric background in Illustrator. It's actually pretty easy, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is draw a hexagon, and I'm going to go here under the Rectangle tool and choose the Polygon tool and click once on the artboard. That brings up the dialog box, and the radius doesn't matter. This just depends on the size of your artboard. But of course you want 6 sides because we're creating a hexagon. When you click OK, the hexagon appears. I'm just going to move this up to the top left corner of my artboard, and as you can see, I have it filled with a linear gradient that goes from medium blue to light blue. Now I want to create several copies of this, and I'm going to do that through a transform effect. But first, I want to look at the transform panel and take note of these two measurements, the width and the height. So I've got a width of 80 and a height of 70. I'm not going to do anything in this panel, you just want to make a note of those sizes. Now I'm going to go up to the Effect menu to Distort and Transform and choose Transform. Since I want a horizontal row of copies, I'm going to enter a number in the horizontal field. And I want to enter half of what that width measurement was in the Transform panel. So I'll put 40 points. I'll turn on the preview button, and you can see that that hexagon is moving half the distance of the original. I want several copies, however, so I'm going to enter 15 in the copies field down here, and when I press the tab key, you can see those copies appear. You can use the up or down arrow keys to add or subtract more copies, and those copies will appear in real time. Now, to get the look of the triangle pattern, we want the hexagon to be transparent so when it overlaps, we see triangles. So I'm going to go down here to the Appearance panel, click on the word opacity, and change that to about 50%. Now you can see that I'm starting to get diamond shapes where those transparent hexagons overlap. Now I want to make another row of repeating hexagons, so I'll go back up to the Effect menu and choose Distort and Transform, Transform a second time. This time I want to move it vertically, so I'll go to the Vertical field and enter half the distance of the height of the object. You remember that was 70 points, so I'm going to enter 35. When I turn on the preview, you can see that move down. Now I want these diamonds to line up, so I'm also going to move it horizontally by half the distance again, so in this case, 20 points. And now you can see those edges are lining up. I also want to enter some copies because I want a whole field of triangles, and I'll enter 10. And again, I can use my up arrow keys and just add more copies as needed. And that is really all there is to it. Because I have that transparent hexagon and those two transform effects, I get a pattern of repeating hexagons that overlap, creating these triangles. And because this hexagon has a gradient applied to it, I get a slight quilted effect. You can get a different effect simply by reversing the gradient in the Gradient panel. Of course, you can use any colors that you want and experiment with the direction there. You can also experiment with different looks by using different colors and even radial gradients. Now if I want to trim this and make a nice neat rectangle, I'll just create a clipping mask. I'll go over here and choose the Rectangle tool. Then I'll deselect everything, take the fill off the rectangle, and I'm just going to eyeball where I want that rectangle to be in relation to my pattern. That looks good. Now I'm going to select all, which is still simply one hexagon with those two transform effects applied to it, and my rectangle, which is on top. Then I'm going to go up to the Object menu, to Clipping Mask, Make. Now we have a nice neat rectangle filled with this geometric pattern, and you're done.